It's a huge weekend worth of racing coming up on iRacing Live, and what a place to start with one of our featured series at one of the most historic racetracks in the world. Welcome to Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Welcome to week 6 of season 1 2018 on iRacing, and welcome back to the SpecRacer Ford Challenge. It is our featured series for the season, and that means we see it not once, not twice, 3-4 times in the season. Qualifying is currently underway. It's Will Vincent along with Connery Maddock. Not a lot you can say, except we're back at Spa again, Connery.
Yep, Spa again it is. It feels like we've been here around about 15 times over the past couple of weeks, but I'm not one to complain at all. It is an absolutely fantastic racetrack, and it's going to be, shall we say, fairly interesting with the SpecRacer Fords that we have here. Of course, they're not too powerful in terms of their power plant, so this is going to be a huge draft race.
Oh, yes, it will be. Of course, let the people want to say thank you to. Up on your screen, take a look, share some love. Qualifying, let's show you what's going on then as drivers are on laps. No one has actually set a lap time yet. They are getting close though to the end of laps. Let's check in with one or two drivers. Let's start by looking at the number 1 machine. That is Daniel Menikoff there. Sorry, not quite sure what's with our graphic. We get his name twice, but there we are. Currently working himself down towards Pouon right now, that double apex left-hander. Let's go on board of him for a moment. You can just see that these drivers, they've really only got one shot to do a lap here. You messed it up, Connery. It's pretty much game over. You'll start from the rear of the field at this track.
Yeah, exactly. These lap times are going to be absolutely huge as Menikoff heads his way through Lafonia on his qualifying lap here. Probably will struggle to get another one in, but we'll just see as the rest of the field do head their way around La Source. Of course, the start-finish line is going to be on the run down towards Eau Rouge because we are using the classic pit lane here, as the first couple of lap times will be scored on the boards. And currently, Fraser Williamson provisional pole. Everyone else is just going to drop back behind him just for now. Sammy Follett gets himself P number 4, but we've still got a bunch of time to come through.
Indeed, having a look then on the exit of La Source for the driver of that number 1 machine past the start-finish line. He will come in at one moment's time. We just saw there times were ticking across. Gaspers had pole position for a moment. Then it was Berafia and Menikoff there up into 3rd place. So it's the number 18 machine there who has got himself pole position here today, Connery. That impressive.
Yeah, Buafia, one of those drivers that you do see around on occasion, but he definitely has the absolute pace here in the SpecRacer Ford. 0.4 of a second advantage over David Gaspers, who's widely considered to be one of, if not the fastest driver in these SRF cars. But the thing is, he is also top of the point standings as well, and because this is a featured series, every single division in the points here in this series, you gain credits at the end of the series if you finish in P1, 2, or 3. So 25 credits, 15 credits, and 10 credits respectively to those positions. So these championship positions do matter. Yeah, indeed. So qualifying is for the most part over. Let's then run you through your starting grid for this evening's event here on Racesport TV, and of course streaming live on iRacing Live. They are coming up on your screen right now. You know what, Connery? For once, you do it. Yeah, let's just let me do it anyway. Pole position, Kedarine Buafia, pole position with a 2:49.855. Then joining him on the front row will be David Gaspers in that number 2 machine. Menikoff, who we saw most of his qualifying lap, will round himself on the second row. Fraser Williamson will be lining up next to him on that row number 2. Row number 3 will consist of Alejandro Sanchez and David Peña Jimenez, and behind them will line up David Stefanini and Marco Assidiacono as well. Looking back through the field down towards the bottom end of your top 10, you've got James Tibor, Dave Legatti, Calvin Feuderant, Jason Perry, Sammy Follett will round out your top 13. Then P14 back will be Oya Hugo, Ismael Hernandez, Rob Fears, Samuel Rendal, Antonio Rodriguez, and Javier Blas Boticas will be rounding out your 19 car grid.
Indeed so. So as we say, we are here at Spa. Drivers are just lining themselves up on the starting grid. We are getting ready to show you 10 laps worth of racing here this evening. And don't forget, a little bit later on Racespot TV, 10 p.m. GMT, we are going to have coverage of our preview show on Facebook Live. So check us out on that one in just a little bit. That'll be 10 p.m. GMT on Facebook Live. Drivers are nicely gridded up, waiting for the last couple, and then we'll be good to go for 10 laps here at Spa. As you see that, they are on the classic pits. So the first time these guys are really going to have to hit the brake pedal will be when they get to Lacum. Lights are on top of the gantry. Let's go racing here at Spa. We go green. Good start there by the number 18 machine as he's going to lead them all down into Air Rouge for the first time. Up the hill, through Radillon they come, and actually David Gaspers will move himself to the top of the timing stand, but it's a long, hard, fast drive now as they will come towards the kink, and from then on it's all going to be about who's going to be the best drafter down this long camel straightaway. 1, 2, 3 wide. Number 1 machine's actually in the middle right there, actually, Conway. And I think that, well, I thought he was going to get it. Actually, Alejandro Sanchez around the outside will move himself to the top of the timing sheets. Incredible.
Incredible stuff. Just shows how powerful the draft is as they head 2 wide for the race lead coming through Malmadia as well. Potentially 3 wide coming off here. 3 wide we will go. Why not? David Gaspers down towards the inside for Ravage. Battle of the late breakers, but the thing is, Manenkov is going to win out in terms of that one. Still holding that inside line as they come down the hill through the right-hander up towards No Name Corner now, and they finally get single file. Yeah, indeed. So apologies about looking at a tree there, but it is Manenkov then who's going to lead the way as they come down into Pouan for the first time. His look on board of him. He has got himself the driver of Sanchez right behind right now. Sanchez in second place. Third place is David Gaspers. We have Boafia from first place, now down into P number 4. Rob Fears did not take the start, is not looking as though he will take any part in this event here today. But apart from that, they went 4 wide and they were able to stick it out, Connery. Yep, they were absolutely able to stick it out. And one person I saw had a terrible start was David Stefanini in that number 4 machine. Did start P number 7, but the thing is, he is now P number 11, so that's a loss of 4 positions for him on the start. Not an ideal start at all, and it looks like he's just going to go backwards again as Foydrink gets a good run out of the second stabler. Yeah, indeed so. So some drivers are really struggling. There is driver of David Stefanini as he is in that number 4 machine right now. They're working themselves. And you can just actually see, we'll put the speed chart up for you here. 113. Oh, in the front. David Gaspers is around, coming through Blanchimont, and he's going to stay out of the way of all the traffic passing on his left-hand side. But that was contact with Alejandro Sanchez coming through Blanchimont, and that's why you don't really go too wide through there. No, it's worth a replay as well. Let's get one for you. This is as the drivers are working themselves towards Blanchimont on track. Gaspers, green car, right-hand side of the track. You see, this is the little kinks coming up towards Blanchimont. This is Blanchimont itself. Gaspers just came down a little bit, and you see car coming up a little bit as well. You've got to say that, but Gaspers, though, holding the brake very well, because otherwise that could have been absolute calamity. Yeah, great job to keep that car out of trouble. And let's say he's not too far off the back of the main pack here, so he can just try and clamber himself back up the field somewhat. since the whole field is heading their way down into Eau Rouge now, and Gasper's only just coming out of that source, so that is kind of the visual gap that he's dealing with right now. So as long as he can get into the draft of the likes of Bocquez and Follett, he can drag himself back up to somewhere vaguely near this mid-pack, as they're going 2x2 for the race lead.
Oh yeah, they are. There's Fraser Williamson at the front in that number 10 machine. He's got himself David Jimenez then second place. As who's going to win the battle this time? It is going to be the driver of Fraser Williamson, who leads them into Lacombe on the second time around this track. 10 laps, of course, here today at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. And let's actually have a look on board with the driver in fourth place, Alejandro Sanchez, putting the pressure on Jimenez. With this top four looking as though they are the class in the field, you've got, of course, now the driver who's way down your field of David Gasper is going to try and work himself back through. But this top four does look as though if they work together, they could just about break away.
Yeah, and that breakaway is just about starting to happen. You see that gap between the front four cars and the pack behind them. Arcidia Kono is the one dropping off the back of that front pack, with Buafera as well coming through Pouhon. So they got to be fairly careful here. And even saying that, Sanchez himself is falling off the back of the top three as well. So not a great couple of corners for him, but he's still well within drafting distance, as long as he doesn't slide the car like he is doing right now.
Yeah, indeed. So just having a look then as we go further back, there is Jason Perry in the number 7 machine, as he's trying to put pressure on the driver of Dave Legatti right now as they come out of Stavolo 1 and Stavolo 2. At some point we're going to have to settle this argument. Is it Stavolo 2 or is it not Stavolo 2? Is it Curva Paul Freire?
I usually go with Stavolo 2, but on the track mat it does say Curva Paul Freire as well, so it's either or.
Yeah, there's a number 1 machine trying to go back to the race lead. Those of you wondering, oh, there's so many lead changes. This is what you get in the SpecRacer Fords, and this is the reason why. I'm going to put the speed chart up again. 118 miles an hour top speed there for your number 1 machine. Now down into second place is Williamson going to try and go on the outside, cuts back to get the inside line into the final part of the bus stop. They're going to be side by side as they exit the bus stop chicane, and actually Williamson's going to have to fall back in line, so he's now back down into second place. But because these cars are so slow in terms of their top end speed, it does mean for tighter racing when you've got long straightaways like this at Spa.
Yeah, it's basically meant that front pack of 4 that was developing is now a pack of many cars, about 9 cars, all the way down to P number 9, as Sanchez looking to go too wide with the City of Kono here for P number 4 into Eau Rouge. This could be tricky as he sticks the car down the left-hand side there, up towards Radion as well. Careful not to run over the curb too much, otherwise he gets slowdown penalty. But look how much of a run he's lost to a Buafea behind. He's going to have an easy pass driver's left-hand side, will help with the draft for the car ahead as well, as Arcidia Kono tries to go around Jimenez and is also changed for the race lead. Yeah, as Williamson is going to move himself back to the front just for the moment, but there's a driver, number 7 machine, Jason Perry, saw him all the way on the right-hand side coming into Lacombe that time. He was making the pass over David Legatti, so he's moved himself up into the 7th position in that number 7 car just for the moment. And yeah, now you've got 6 cars in that breakaway pack, and what seems to have started happening is, ever since Sanchez, Perry, Legatti, et al. Have started battling out, it's allowed Buafea and Sanchez actually to just pull out a bit of a lead. Perry now behind in P number 7, 2 seconds. That's going to take a lot of work to claw back, because you don't get the slipstream, the draft, when you're 1.8, 1.9 back. Yeah, and we're seeing the classic SpecRacer Ford bump drafting as well. Jimenez and the City of Kono coming out no-name corner. Jimenez just basically gave a little bit of a shunt, a little bit of a hurry up to City of Kono coming down through there to try and catch themselves back up towards your leading pairs. They head into Lafania. A little bit of puff of brake smoke there from Manenkov, trying to chase down your current race leader. But the thing is, he kind of has to be working with him at this stage to try and break away from the rest of the pack and then battle it out at the end.
Yeah, Manenkov there in the number 1 car with Williamson. They are trying to do their own thing out front. We go on board with him right now. Actually, no, we're on board with Arcidia Kono. There you can see the gap. It's 7 tenths of a second, 8 tenths of a second. But look at it come down as these drivers work towards the bus stop chicane. It should come down by about 3, maybe 4 tenths of a second because of that slipstream. But the bump drafting there being done by Williamson and Manenkov does seem to be, there we are, there's your 2 tenths of a second, Conway through Blanchimont. You're going to get another 10th as they come. Yep, there we are. Into the bus stop chicane. Right on the money. 4 tenths gone. 1 key piece of acceleration.
Yeah, it just shows how difficult it is to break the draft here at Spa when you have such long straight slopes, such a huge amount of time on 100% throttle in these cars. It's just nigh on impossible, but Manenkov and Wilson are still just going to try because it gives them that buffer to be able to fight for the race lead on the final couple of laps. So coming towards the end of lap number 3 right now, the order of things is Williamson, Manenkov, Asidiakono, and Jimenez. But the thing is, there are a couple of other drivers behind that would also want to get themselves involved in this one as well. Yeah, there are the top 8 down at the bottom of the screen. I did see a lovely battle. There's one going on right now by David Stefanini and Oya Hugo, as well as Kevin Freuden. These guys are scrapping just outside your top 10, and they are having a fantastic little battle. We haven't seen much on your screen because of every time we try and look at it out front, they try and go 3 wide for the race lead. They're hogging all the TV time out front, but there's some fantastic battles going on as Burfea and Sanchez swap positions as well. They're just coming into shot as they come into Lacombe. Kind of need longer camera lenses at this track just because of how much action is all going on at one time. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant to see, and it's always good when there's so much action and our cameras can't catch all of it. It just shows the standard of racing out there. As actually, just as I say that, Randall does head into the back of Oya Hugo there, that number 15 machine, but they both managed to keep it on the grey stuff. A little bit of damage to the number 15 as he will get passed on the inside by Freudren in towards Rivage, or at least be challenged on the inside, but Freudren gets all over the curb there, almost touching as well off the corner, and actually Hugo will just hold position, and in fact, Freudren will lose one more because Gaspers is making its way back. Momentum racing, that's what it's like in these SpecRacer Fords, and that's why you don't see people necessarily just making dive bomb moves, because if you lose that momentum, it means that you are going to be very vulnerable to being passed by the guy behind you, especially if you're in a pack racing situation like this. The acceleration is the other thing. The low top speed is one, Connie, but the acceleration in these cars as well. If you mess up one corner, you will be punished for it. And that is why so many people say this is the one car, if you can master this maybe alongside the Skip Barber, it will make you an all-round driver in terms of road racing and iRacing. Yeah, and it's, you know, these cars are definitely, well, one of the ones they used in the smaller sorts of club racing, shall we say, especially in North America, and they really do treat the racecraft, or good racecraft, very, very well, as Gaspers still tries to make his way by the inside of Hugo there, but the thing is, there's Freudren around the outside, potentially at Blanchimont as well, but the thing is, he's going to drop back because he's taking such an extreme line coming through the left-hand kink that he just drops himself back behind, but Hugo will have a look back on Gaspers coming down to the bus stop. I'll tell you one thing, the number 10 machine of Fraser Williamson completely messed up there when he came down to the bus stop chicane. Lost himself 3 positions as a consequence of that. I'm just going to see if we can get a replay on board with him to show this one. Here we are, we're on board with him. He was in 4th place, comes down into the bus stop chicane. Looks like he's going to pass 2 cars, and then the number 1 machine out front, that's Manenkov there, just locked his brakes, and Williamson was the driver that suffered most out of that. Yeah, and Sanchez with the balls of steel to go down towards the inside of many cars that are coming through that first apex of the bus stop. I'm just having a look. Was he P number 5 coming into the bus stop? He was P number 2 coming out of it. Yep, there is Sanchez actually, though, going to the race lead. There's a number 11 machine, and Marco Asidiakono now trying to challenge for the race lead into Lacombe, and Asidiakono with the outside line should be able to sweep it around. Number 3 machine of Alejandro Sanchez, though, will hold the racing line for the first part of Lacombe, and therefore able to keep the racing line out the corner. Behind, this is the battle still going on. You've got yourself Gaspers. Gaspers, by the way, is back up into 11th place. There's the good news. Bad news, next driver on track is 2 seconds ahead of him. That is the driver of David Stefanini. Yeah, and Gaspers will definitely be the driver in clear air, so we can have a potential look at Stefanini in the next couple of laps. But the thing is, we only have 10 laps here to work with, even though they're just short of 3-minute lap times. Still not a lot of time to Gaspers to try and improve his position. The only saving grace he has right now is Stefanini isn't getting much of the draft from the pack ahead of him, so there's still a chance for one more, but I don't think it'd be much more unless that pack ahead starts fighting. Yeah, indeed. So there, we're on board right now with Burfa
as he's putting pressure on Yimniez on the exit of the final chicane. Coming down towards Stavilo number 1 right now. Buffer started this race in pole position, has fallen down into P number 6. Got ourselves side-by-side racing of Oya Hugo right now in 13th place, and Ismael Hernandez in 14th place. They've been going at it. In terms of retirees, well, we have none. One driver didn't start the race, that was Rob Fears. Apart from that, one driver is coming towards pit road, that is Antonio Rodriguez. Everyone else is still circulating on track as Sanchez going to lose 2 positions there, caught on the outside to run down in towards Blanchimont.
Still on the outside, in towards Blanchimont, on the exit of Blanchimont as well, and Sanchez will get that repass around the driver's right-hand side, onto the brakes, into the bus stop now. Middle line taken from Menenkov, your race leader, as they will settle themselves single file, coming through that tight and twisty section. So less of a risk to go too wide through Blanchimont in these cars because of the speed, but it's still something that will be very, very nervous for the drivers indeed, as Fraser gets a tap to the back of Sanchez to try and bring him back up towards your race leader, in towards La Source.
Yeah, indeed. There you can see your pack as it goes right now. David Stefanini, currently in P number 10. I was keeping an eye out on the gap between himself and David Gaspers. It's actually gone up by 0.2 of a second. So Stefanini there, looking as though he's able to hold on for the moment versus Gaspers. Gaspers actually back into traffic, which is going to harm him a little bit. He's actually now fallen down to P number 11. As he's got himself, oh sorry, that's actually, take that back. It changed T-Boy. He's actually just been passed by David Stefanini. So that was what the change of position was there. Halfway through our event right now. Don't forget live timing and scoring is available for this event. It'll be available all weekend long as well for the 24 hours of Daytona. So you won't miss a thing on Racesport TV live timing and scoring. Unless the timing and scoring app doesn't work. But it will do all weekend, we promise. Samuel Rendell right now. On board of him, 13th place. He's behind Dave Gaspers, and Gaspers needs someone who can maybe just push him down the racetrack a little bit, do a little bit of that bump drafting.
Yeah, meanwhile, at the front, huge moment for Menenkov there, coming through Ravage, got the back end out through the second half of the corner, and I find it miraculous that he hasn't lost the position there and hasn't lost the draft to your race leader. That was some good driving to try and keep that car on the grey stuff. Yeah, there's a look then at the replay. What we're looking at, third car in line right now. Number 1 machine goes down the inside of Fraser Williamson in the corner. There you can just see as he comes behind the trees, the back end of that car sliding out. He actually slides the car on the exit of the corner as well. So well done there to hold on by the number 1 machine of Menenkov, as these drivers will now work on the exit of the final chicane on their 6th tour around this racetrack. And there's a look at your second pack of drivers. Legatti versus Jason Perry. P7, P8 going on right now. As behind it started to calm down just a little bit. Not really many battles going on, which means that we can turn our attention back to the front of the field, because here they go again, side by side. Menenkov on the outside, Sanchez on the inside. Williamson going to close them up by the time they get down to the bus stop chicane. Yeah, and looking at your current P number 4 driver, that's Alcidio Kono. He has a little bit of rear end damage. Part of that rear bodywork is sticking up into the air, so I have to wonder if that's going to affect his straight line speed. Down the inside goes Jimenez, down into the bus stop, will gain that position relatively easily there. So I think Alcidio Kono is going to be struggling with a little bit more drag for the rest of this race. Yeah, Perry, Legatti. Perry gets it on the exit of that corner. There's a look from the rear as they'll come down towards La Source. And it'll be Perry who leads them into that part of the track. It's worth noting, just as the start of the race was down on the run to Air Rouge, the end of the race will be after La Source. So that means that the drivers will try and make a last-minute attempt down into the bus stop chicane, but you're most likely to see another one when they come in towards La Source in that final lap, Connery. Yeah, exactly, and it's just yet one more opportunity, and some races can be decided by one more opportunity from the guy behind, but 3 wide they will go yet again for the race leaders. They head themselves down the Camel Straight, and Sanchez will get himself in towards that race lead, and this is basically chess at 185 kilometers an hour as they head down towards Lecombe. Fraser Williamson looking for the race lead, 3 wide behind them as well. That's it, Alcidio Kono getting himself up to P number 3. Yeah, so Alcidio Kono is still there in the mix. Sanchez, though, just seems to be good under braking into those kind of slower to medium speed corners. Williamson
It's worth noting he's just been biding his time, trying to stay out of the mess by the looks of it. Williamson just holding that car around the outside by about half a car length down to Rivage. Couldn't make the move, so falls back into line to come down into the corner with no name, and they'll now exit the corner with no name and come down towards Puon once again. So Williamson then behind Sanchez, Manilkov then in third place, Yimyez in fourth, Asidio Kono in fifth, Berafia in sixth, Legatti is your second pack leader, he is in seventh, Perry in eighth, Tibor in ninth, and Stefanini rounding out your top 10. 3 laps to go at the line, Connery. I think it's going to be a lap 10 showdown. I think these guys have been keeping it cool, but working out their opponent's weaknesses. We're not going to see anything too bold, I'd say, until about now, maybe on lap 10.
Yeah, this is just all basically figuring out where they need to be on that final lap to be leading as they take the checkered flag, because you don't necessarily want to be leading at the white flag to be able to win this race, as Fraser Williamson does decide to try and head his way by. But looking back towards the David Gasper's area of things, the number 2 machine that had instant early on coming through Bonchimont, trying to make his way back to the field. Guess what? He's got onto the back of this mid-pack now, is deciding to bump draft Stefanini back up into it. So crucial points on offer for Gaspers. Of course, he is leading this championship at the moment, but because of how high this SOF is, that could be a huge points deficit that he's taking into the next couple of weeks. So he needs all the points he can get.
Yeah, and he also needs to be able to make passes like that, make a move down on the outside and towards the bus stop chicane. Too wide, too deep. There's one, there's two there for Gaspers, and that shows you why he is leading the championship right now. You can see it all coming when he planted that car around the outside, knowing if they go 2 by 2, the drive on the inside can sometimes struggle. He's not trying to go for free into La Source just yet, but he will most likely try, in my opinion, as he runs into the rear actually of Perry, might try and go for broke and get himself around Legatti by the time they get up the top of the hill here. But that was a pretty big hit there by Gaspers on Perry.
Yeah, that was a little bit of confusion on the brakes there, and unsure of each other's braking distances, and unfortunately Gaspers just ran himself into the back of Perry, as Perry does get the good run coming off the top of Radion. And this is the problem that Gaspers has now, because he's giving all of the drivers behind him the draft, and they will go 3 wide 4P number 8 coming down the Camel Straight. And the driver ahead is trying to manage things. That's the Gatti trying to manage the lanes here, like they do in the NASCAR Super Speedway races. And right now, it's going to be Jason Perry that's going to win out in that particular 3 wide battle.
Yeah, and this is what we mean. It's about track placement at the right time, because get it right, you'll be in perfect position to consolidate as you work yourself through this middle part of the racetrack. As Asidio Kono has gone off. This is on the exit of Rivage. Getting ourselves another look at this one, but I think Asidio Kono just took a bit too much there on the run down into Rivage. Replay up then for the number 11 machine. Comes into the corner. Gets on the power. Yeah, just as he got under power, he pushed wide. And as a consequence of that, you have the number 1 machine of Maninkoff there come down on the inside as well. Asidio Kono had to at some point get almost off the racetrack entirely, Connery.
Yeah, and there was also a very, very slight tap from that number 1 machine as he was making his way down towards the inside as well. So that could have exacerbated the issues that were being had there. But right now, top 3 trying to break themselves away. But the thing is, I don't think that's going to be possible for the rest of this race. These drivers up here are way too quick. They're not going to be able to be broken away from easily. Asidio Kono, though saying that, is starting to drop off the back of this pack. So he has to be super, super careful. But right now, it is a 5-horse race for the front.
Yeah, and of course, Asidio Kono is the driver who got hit by the number 1 machine of Mainkov on the run through Rivage. Of course, lost a lot of momentum as well. There is some damage to the rear end of that car. Now, Asidio Kono has actually dropped a second over the course of the last half a lap or so. So that might be damage, might be suspension, might be something else, might be. You know what? I want to keep out of the way. I want to get to the end of this motor race for Asidio Kono. As behind, Perry, Legatti once again, side by side as they work themselves through the bus stop chicane. And Legatti is going to lose out to Gaspers as well. Gaspers now at the front of the train, but there'll be 2 laps to go at the line, Connery. 6.2 seconds. Now, people often talk about why go and, race so hard and try and put away so much if you know it's all going to come down to the final lap. Answer is 6.2 seconds. It means it's a 5-horse race and not a 12-horse race.
Yeah, it really is. So that's the situation the drivers have to be dealing with right now. Gaspers could potentially be looking to get away from the pack behind him, and he has built up a considerable gap already. So that is going to be relatively comfortable for him if he is successful on the final lap, just to bring things home as they head themselves down the Caramel Straight. Stephanie Legatti, Perry and Tibor as well decided to battle things out. And I think the front are completely fine, but this second black pack, this is going to be absolutely bonkers racing as they head down in towards Lacombe. That gap wasn't enough for Gaspers. That train's still on the back of him.
Yeah, and Gaspers was lucky there. He pulled out enough through the bus stop and through La Source to really get himself enough of a gap so he wasn't swamped, because now what he can do, he can pull out all the way through this middle section, and that is the only way that he's going to keep P number 7 with ease.
Yeah, in terms of single lap performance, the single lap without the draft performance, Gaspers is pretty much one of the ones to beat. Of course, second in qualifying, and there's no other cars out on track to help you in that sort of situation. But so he has to maximize this middle sector to try and get some sort of gap coming onto the straight. But right now, he is unsuccessful, and he only has 1.5 laps to be able to make himself relatively safe by the end of the final lap.
Yeah, there's a look at the drivers as they head themselves then. And this is a nice visual cue. You can just see that. It's about 6 seconds between pack number 1, pack number 2, as they come through the Fungi chicane. There is your second pack. And from then on, actually, it's going to be about another 3 seconds before you see your third pack come into view. Number 9 car there, Fernandez and Follett et al. As if you are in the front of your pack, now it's time to find a dancing partner. Now it's time to get onto the dance floor and get racing, because the second these drivers will come on the exit of the bus stop chicane, in fact they're doing it already, it's time to get moving. The gap between P number 5 and P number 7 is currently 8 seconds. That's enough that they can really go at it on this final lap. So the gloves are now off. The drivers are getting ready to go really hard. Through the bus stop chicane, they will come for the penultimate time. And now, last source, and then one more lap to go, Connery.
Yeah, one more lap to go, and it's going to be elbows out for the entirety of your podium positions, the entirety of your top 5. Down onto the brakes into the last sources for the penultimate time now. Heading through that white flag will greet them from the starters stand as they head their way across the start-finish line for the classic pits. And now you have to show your hand. Now you have to make your moves. Yep.
Here we go then. 3 more minutes worth of racing to go. Top 3, left-hand side of your screen. Gaspers, by the way, is now ahead of Stefanini. As we talked about, he's in P number 6. As we have got ourselves a battle going on already for the race lead. It's Williamson versus Jimenez versus Sanchez in the mix, and Menikoff in there as well. This is going to change probably 2 more times before we get ourselves on the exit of Rivage. But for the moment, it's Jimenez who's got the outside line, Williamson on the inside line. Williamson is going to have the advantage on the exit of Lacombe. Now they're going to dance it to the right-hand side into Malindi, and now down in towards Rivage. 180-degree right-hander, and now Sanchez is ahead of Jimenez. It's a case of who gets the best momentum out of here to set yourself up for the second half of the lap, and Jimenez there, number 5 machine, was hung out to dry on the outside, Connery.
Yeah, exactly, and still any of these 5 drivers can potentially win this race. This isn't over and done with by any means as they head their way down into Buon, your triple left-handed down the hill, coming down towards the bottom of the elevation changes on this track as Jimenez and Maniakov's going to spin and take out Buafera as well. Now 2-horse race for the front.
Yep. It is now between Sanchez and Williamson. We'll get yourselves a replay of what happened again with Manikoff and Buafera. We saw it live. There was a bit of a slide by Manikoff. I think he got hit, and then he ended up trying to turn the wheel around and hits Buafera as a consequence. 2-horse race then for your race lead. Williamson versus Sanchez. It's a draft fest between them. Worth noting that Buafera is back on track. He's in P number 5 right now. Gaspers up to 6th place. That will be important for his championship. Williamson, Sanchez, here we go. The run through Blanchimont, and this is really now, because it's a 2-horse race, Sanchez can't go too early. He's got to wait, in my opinion, until the exit of the bus stop chicane. You can see he's waiting. He's now going to go to the outside. This is what I talked about before. Outside can translate onto the inside of the second part of the corner, make it easier as you come, and that's what he's done. Sanchez to the race lead, but the overspeed down, the exit of the corner, Williamson back down to the left-hand side. They come down to La Source for the final time. Williamson has the advantage, but what do you now do? Mano a mano into La Source. You see Sanchez goes to the outside. Can he get the momentum off the corner? Williamson looks as though he's going to have it as they come down the hill. It's going to be mighty close, but Fraser Williamson will get it here at Spa. Williamson wins. Sanchez in second place. Jimenez there in third. Williamson wins.
Yeah, fantastic win for the young Scotsman, and side-by-side across the line for P number 8, I believe, is down the field. They will go P number 9, it was, Tibor and Buafea side-by-side, and the rest of the field will trickle their way across the line, but fantastic finish. We would rather all 5 cars be involved down into the bus stop, but a fantastic finish from both Williamson and Sanchez meant that we got the finish that we perhaps would have wanted there. Fantastic for Williamson to hold on to that position coming through the bus stop. That was absolutely crucial. He got the up and under move coming out of there, giving him such a good momentum down in towards La Source that he was able to get towards the inside and defend that position coming through the exit.
Yeah, having a look at a couple of replays. First one then, Jason Perry. This happened on the final lap of the motor race. Perry was going through Lacombe, and he lost that one all by himself. I had to get a second look, but he lost that all by himself in that number 7 machine. So he just got a snap oversteer through the centre of Lacombe. Consequence of that, puts himself out. Now this is the big one in terms of your front pack. Buafea and the number 1 car. Gonna have a look from up above as they come down in towards Pouin. Number 1, okay, there's the start of the incident. Number 1 machine, there we have a look. The number 1 machine of Maniakov there gets tagged by the number 5 car of Jimenez. And we're just going to roll that tape there. You can see as it comes behind the trees, number 1 car just starts sliding. Nothing he can do. 18 machine taken out as a consequence. Let's ride on board now with Buafea. Yeah, nothing really that number 1 machine could have done. As soon as he gets hit, his car is sliding. At some point, he's either going to go into one wall or snap and hit the other one.
Yeah, and these cars are fairly difficult to save once you get them into that sort of situation. And you would have thought if there's no grass on the inside there, then maybe things would have been a little bit different. But Spies are pretty unforgiving in terms of that one. And as a result, it's taken 2 drivers that were looking for your podium positions at the end of the race there. So such a shame for them, but sometimes that's the way the racing turns out.
Yeah, let's have a look at your final race results here then from Spa-Francorchamps and the SpecRacer Ford Challenge. Racebot TV, iRacing Live. Fraser Williamson leads by and wins by just over a 10th of a second. Comes down to a final lap battle, final half lap battle between himself and Alejandro Sanchez. Sanchez comes home in 2nd place. David Jimenez there in 3rd place. Marco Esidio Kono in 4th. David Gaspers rounds out your top 5. David Stefanini in 6th place. Daniel Maniakov in P number 7 after that crash with Buafea. James Tibor comes home in 8th, Buafea in 9th, and Dave Legatti rounds out your top 10. There is the remainder of your results. Normally at this point, we go to commercial, we come back, we sit around, we chat for a little bit. We're going to do that at 10 o'clock GMT. So instead, we're going to welcome in your race winner, Fraser Williamson, coming home with a victory today, stood by with Connery.
Yeah, Fraser, and this is pretty much the win that you have always wanted, Fraser. Broadcasted race in the SpecRacer Fords. How was it out there today? Because it seemed very hectic at the front.
Yeah, it was a bit more interesting than the standard Spec Ford race, a bit more aggressive moves in the tight corners that you don't usually see in this time, but the racing was good. Clean for the most part, I think, and I won, so I can't complain. It was 2nd time of asking.
Yeah, exactly, and you've kind of broken your curse now, Fraser. Like almost every single broadcasted race that you've been in, you've either crashed out or you've had something unfortunate happen to your machine, but finally, on the big stage, you've made it happen.
Yeah, I've done it once at Watkins in the DP, where I self-spun, the last corner, and Watkins again in Spec Ford where I bounced the curb too hard. So it's nice to finally get that one sorted.
Yeah, it is very, very nice indeed. And in terms of your championship standings, you're not all that far up there, in fact. So you're not racing the SpecRacer Ford perhaps as much as you have been, as you've known to be previously. But,
nope.
You know, when you talk about people like David Gaspers, Manenkov, and the other guys that you're also competing against, who do you think has the edge in this championship?
Honestly, I haven't looked at the championship. I've been busy with GT3 qualifiers this season, so Gaspers, Manenkov, John Madden, who for some reason wasn't in the race. You got those three names as well, always up there in the championship, always good driving.
Yeah, and, well, it's a shame that we didn't see Madden, but we did see Gaspers have a couple of issues earlier on in the race that dropped him back through the field, so that sets us up for a particularly interesting championship heading in towards the next couple of rounds. But for you, Fraser, is there anyone else you want to thank before we let you go?
Everyone at TBR, you know, being in team speak with them during the race was good fun. Looking forward to tomorrow. We've got BES in Daytona, so it should be a good weekend.
Yep, and he said the D word there, Will.
Will's dead.
Yeah, the 24 hours of Daytona tomorrow, starting tomorrow afternoon here in the European continent. And, well, we'll be broadcasting the vast majority of that one. But, Will, fantastic win for Fraser. Finally gets one on the board for him. But we have much bigger issues to be contending with on the weekend.
Indeed. So join us on Facebook Live in 25 minutes. We're going to break down the 24 hours of Daytona 2018. In the meanwhile, that is all we got time for tonight. We'll be back, of course, next week. Same time, same place, as we will again do what you guys want us to do. We show some of the best racing there is every single week. And next time, you will see us on air on the 26th. We, on prime time, are going to have a little bit of NASCAR. That'll be at Iowa next week, 10:15 p.m. GMT from us here on Racesport TV. Thank you so much. Peace out. We'll see you on Facebook Live in 25 minutes. In a bit. Bye-bye.